back again, and it's always an honour to stand here amongst great campaigners, fellow survivors, and great-minded people that understand what we went through as children. All my family was abused in childcare. I was in abusive childcare and in care from virtually birth. They've got me because the records they keep of us are all redacted, wrong, things are misplaced, blacked out or whited out, and they got me in care before I was actually born. So the records right through my life were like this, and trying to chase the councils up to get my records of what happened to me was very, very difficult. I was in 4 or 5 children's homes before I was even 6 years of age. At 6, I went before the court system, and a judge looked down at me, a 6-year-old child, and said to me, "Would you like to go to the seaside, sonny boy?" I'd never been to the seaside. I was the youngest of 4 siblings. Seaside, seaside. Everybody wants to go to the seaside. Every child wants to go to the seaside. They stuck me in a children's home called Beach Home in Banstead, Surrey. It's on my t-shirt now. This was a very, very abusive children's home. I was in 3 out of 4 abusive cottages, 24 cottages in this house, in this home. And I was beaten sexually, physically, mentally, and even to this day, I still have nightmares and trauma about what happened to me. I'm in my 60s, and my mind never seems to let me forget. I have nightmares, and it just doesn't take anything to trigger them off. And I go back, and that little boy inside me comes out and wants to tell the story, and that's why I stand here, telling my story to this day. They put me in a house called Laburnum. Each of these houses were named after trees. And there was this woman called Grace Robinson and Audrey Wilson. They said, "You have to call them auntie and uncle." They were no relation to mine. They weren't my guardians. They weren't my true carers. They showed no love and affection. They used to beat me. They used to put carbolic soap in my mouth. They used to put carbolic soap in my eyes. They used to scrub me with a floor scrubbing brush. They used to slap me in the bath until there was too much water on the floor. I was in the dormitory one night, and Audrey Wilson, the street lights used to flicker, and the shine on the ceiling, and the pattern was broken one night by Audrey Wilson leaning over my bed and touching me under the bedclothes. And I was so frightened, I curled into a little ball, and I lit up underneath the window ledge, and I wet the bed. I stayed there till morning light, and I was in so many different houses. They used to bring male staff to beat me if I disobeyed. We had to do as we're told. We weren't allowed to answer back. There's an old saying, little boys were seen and not heard. And the men used to punch you with their fists, punch you in the stomach, slam you on the floor, kneel on you, hold you down, rub their genitals on your back, bath you. They had this terrible thing about the bathrooms. My sister Marjorie, I'm going to hold a picture up. This is my sister Marjorie. She was one of 4 of my family. I've got 2 sisters and another brother, Frank. We were all abused in the same children's home. Look at Marjorie's eyes, people. Look at her eyes. She was being abused most of her childhood by a guy called Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray. Is that right? Yeah. Mr. Gray in Thistle Cottage. Look at that poor girl's eyes. She's lost. There's a photograph of me, similar, and my eyes are lost as well. This was a loveless childhood with no love and affection. It was a cruel, hard life. The amount of times we were beaten, punched, slapped. They put me in shorts as a young child. And they used to use that as kind of like a weapon for children, to slap the backs of their legs, and they'd make you red raw. And then when they bathed you with this carbolic soap, this red carbolic soap, it used to burn you so badly on the wounds that you already sustained. And the punishment is to make you stand and face the wall for hours and hours on end until your little feet couldn't take it anymore and you fell to the floor. They used to put the same food in front of you if you refused to eat your food. They gave you the same food the next day until you ate it. They gave me some fish one day and a bone stuck in my throat because I was forced to eat it. It scarred the back of my throat and the bone got stuck in the back of my throat. I think I couldn't eat for about a week or so afterwards. All I was eating was bread. And some of the things that happened to her in Beecham was terrible. The abuse went on to another children's home called Shirley Oaks. And Shirley Oaks has had an ICSA, like a Scottish Government inquiry into the child abuse that's happened in Scotland. ICSA is a similar thing to the Scottish Child Inquiry. And Shirley Oaks, the things that have come out of Shirley Oaks are the same as what happened. Almost like a paedophile ring going into these children's homes, and like it was some sort of sweet shop to a paedophile by picking off these children. Jimmy Savile went to Beecham in 1972. Margie, there's a difference. I was the youngest. I'm about 4 or 5 years younger than Margie. I had an elder sister called Anne. I used to call her Mummy Anne because she was the only one that looked after us. Margie was taken from Beecham by staff and put on a train at Banstead Station. And they said, look at this. And this is about the same age of this photograph. And they put this young girl on this train. A member of staff took her to Banstead Station and said to this little girl, driver, can this young girl ride up with you, driver, to be safe rather than in a carriage on her own? The driver abused her in the cab. On her leaving Beecham, not only had she been through abuse in Beecham, Margie, I'm telling my story about Margie because Margie went on in her life, and I'm going to dedicate this to Margie. She's passed, Margie. She never done anything wrong in her life. She had trauma. This is a picture of my sister Margie later in life, and you can see she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And you know, just look at her. Look how beautiful she was. And she was abused for just being such a pretty young girl. She was desperate to have children and give the children the love and affection that none of us had as children in care. She was so desperate, she couldn't have children with her partner. She went on fertility treatment. And they said to her, if you stay on fertility treatment for too long, there is a chance you can get cancer. Margie was so desperate to have children and look after the child like we hadn't been looked after. She stayed on the fertility treatment in desperation for something like over 8 years. And she ended up getting breast cancer. I said to Margie, he was in remission at one stage, but the cancer came back and it went to her liver. My beautiful sister passed in 2002. She was 50 years of age. She went through 25 years of abuse like I did. She found a life. She wanted children, and she wanted to give her children what we never had. I still live to this very, very day. I've been to see psychiatrists, and they say to me, Alan, there's nothing wrong with you. The only thing wrong with you is your memory, and your memory will never let you forget. Thank you, Scotland.